casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. 1 Peter 5:7 KJV. There are moments when the weight on your chest feels almost physical, like something you cannot name, but you feel constantly. It shows up in the way you breathe, the way your thoughts move faster than your voice, the way sleep becomes something you try to reach but cannot hold. Inside you, something keeps whispering that you need to be strong, in control, responsible for everything and everyone. Yet no matter how tightly you try to hold it all together, it keeps slipping. And the truth is, what you are carrying was never meant to be carried alone. This is where surrender begins, not in defeat, not in giving up, but in recognizing that your strength was never designed to replace God's strength. You were not created to manage every outcome. You were created to walk with the one who already sees what you cannot. The human heart has this quiet fear that if we release our grip, everything will collapse. If we stop worrying, we will lose control. If we stop overthinking, something bad will happen. But anxiety does not prevent pain. It only prevents peace. Trying to control the uncontrollable is like trying to hold back the ocean with open hands. The more you force, the more exhausted you become. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you choose trust over strain. It means you allow God to step where you are tired of stepping. It means you acknowledge that you have reached your limit, and your limit is not a failure. It is the exact place where God begins to work. There is something sacred in admitting, even silently, "God, I cannot carry this anymore." That sentence is not weakness. It is the doorway to restoration. Because when you speak those words, you are not collapsing. You are handing over what was never meant to crush you. Right now, in this moment, notice your breathing. Notice the tension in your shoulders. Notice the way your thoughts have been pulling you in too many directions at once. This is your invitation to slow down. Let your mind arrive here. Let your heart hear itself. You do not have to fix everything today. You do not have to know the outcome today. Your only task is to release what is beyond your control into hands that have never failed. God sees what is breaking your peace. God sees the fear behind your silence. God sees how hard you have tried. And He has not once asked you to carry this alone. He is not distant. He is not waiting for you to figure it out on your own. He is near. He is steady, and He is ready to hold what you have been holding for too long. Take a slow breath. Let your chest soften. You are safe to release. You are safe to let go. God is already here. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28, KJV. There is a kind of tiredness that does not show in your face. It hides behind your eyes. It sits quietly in the back of your mind while you try to smile, while you try to keep going, while you try to convince yourself that everything is fine. But deep inside, you know you are carrying more than your heart was built to hold. And the hardest part is that you've gotten so used to being strong that you don't even know how to ask for rest anymore. You learn to perform strength. You learn to act like everything is under control even when everything inside you feels like it's slipping. And somewhere along the way, you became convinced that asking for help meant you were failing. But that belief has only made the weight heavier. Rest is not a reward for finishing the struggle. Rest is what allows you to survive it. There is a quiet voice inside you that has been asking for relief for a long time. Maybe you didn't recognize it. Maybe you pushed it down because you were afraid of what would happen if you finally stopped to feel everything. But the weight doesn't disappear by ignoring it. It only buries itself deeper. And the more you pretend you're okay, the more you drift from the peace God is offering you. God is not asking you to pretend. He is not asking you to hold your breath and keep pushing. He is asking you to come, not perfectly, not with the right words, just as you are, with the tired mind, with the heavy heart, with the questions that have no answers yet. Rest is not found in understanding everything. Rest is found in being held by someone who already knows. So ask yourself honestly, what have you been clenching in your thoughts? What fear keeps repeating itself when your mind is quiet? What outcome have you been trying to control because the unknown feels too frightening? You don't have to silence these thoughts by force. You simply have to acknowledge them and open your hands. The act of surrender begins when you admit that your heart is tired, when you stop trying to outrun what is aching inside you, when you stop pretending that you are unaffected. God does not restore what you refuse to reveal. Healing requires honesty. Peace requires vulnerability. And peace is not far from you. It is not something you have to earn. It is something God gives when you stop fighting alone. This is a moment where you choose gentleness toward your own soul. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your breathing slow. Let yourself stop striving for 1 minute. This pause does not mean you are giving up. It means you are letting your heart remember that it is not alone. There is no rush here, no pressure, no expectation to perform strength. There is only this truth. You are safe to rest. God is not disappointed in your exhaustion. He is present in it. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10, KJV. There is a fight that takes place inside your mind long before it ever appears in your life. It is the struggle between holding on and letting go, between fear and trust, between forcing outcomes and allowing God to move in His timing. Most of the pressure you feel does not come from the situation itself, but from the belief that you must manage everything perfectly, without mistakes, without weakness, without pauses. But this constant internal tension is slowly draining your spirit. It is not the battle outside that is exhausting you. It is the one happening inside. Stillness is not something that comes naturally when your heart is worried. The mind wants to keep moving, to keep calculating, to keep rehearsing every possible scenario as if preparation could prevent pain. But all this does is steal peace from the present moment. You begin to live in your fears instead of your reality. You begin to react to imagined trouble instead of responding to the truth in front of you. You stop hearing God because the noise inside becomes louder than His voice. Being still does not mean doing nothing. It means choosing not to let anxiety drive your decisions. It means stepping back instead of spiraling. It means refusing to let your mind run ahead of what God has revealed. The unknown has a way of stirring fear, but fear is not evidence that you are alone. Fear is simply the signal that you are trying to carry what only God can handle. Stillness is an act of trust. It is saying, I don't see the outcome yet, but I know who holds it. It is acknowledging that certainty does not come from control. Certainty comes from knowing God remains God, even when life feels uncertain. You are not expected to silence every fear. You are simply invited to stop feeding them. You are not expected to be unshakable. You are invited to be held. The world teaches you to fight harder, think more, push yourself further. But the Spirit invites you to rest in what is already true. God is sovereign. God is near. God is working even when the path is hidden. Right now, in this moment, you do not need answers. You need presence. God's presence. The kind of presence that meets you in the middle of your worry and whispers that the storm inside will not last forever. Take a breath. Let your thoughts slow. Allow your heartbeat to settle back into a calm rhythm. You do not have to fix your entire life today. You do not have to reach the conclusion right now. You only need to be here, aware that the one who holds the universe is holding you too. Stillness does not mean the situation changes instantly. It means you stop being dominated by it. It means the storm around you does not have permission to become the storm within you. And once your heart becomes still, you will see God clearer than you ever have before. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23, 2-3, KJV. There comes a point where the weight you carry begins to shape the way you see everything. You wake up and the world already feels heavy. You make decisions from a place of tension rather than peace. You speak, but part of you is holding your breath. Your thoughts move quickly not because you are inspired, but because you are trying not to fall apart. When the heart is tired long enough, it forgets what peace feels like. It forgets that calm is not the absence of problems. Calm is the presence of God. Restoration is not something that happens when you finally solve everything. Restoration comes when you allow God to guide your heart back to a place it once knew, but drifted from. A place where the spirit is quiet enough to hear truth again. A place where you feel held instead of overwhelmed. A place where you are not fighting the world alone. Green pastures and still waters are not a location. They are a condition of the soul. They are the space inside you where God reminds you that you do not have to live in constant defense. You do not have to brace for impact. You do not have to prepare yourself for the worst before it happens. You can simply be. You can simply breathe. You can let your shoulders lower. You can let your thoughts loosen. You can remember that life does not have to be survived every second. It can be lived. Restoration begins with permission. The permission to slow down. The permission to stop proving your strength. The permission to admit that you are tired. So many people spend their lives moving quickly, not because they are passionate, but because they are afraid of what they will feel if they slow down. Silence feels threatening when the heart has been carrying fear. Stillness feels uncomfortable when your identity has been tied to control. But peace is not found in movement. Peace is found in surrender. Let God lead you back to still waters. Not the stillness of paralysis, but the stillness of presence. The kind of stillness where your mind is no longer fighting itself. The kind where your spirit remembers how to trust. The kind where you realize God does not rush you. He does not demand performance, He offers rest. If your soul has forgotten how to rest, it is not because you are weak. It is because you have been surviving without help for too long. You have been showing up for others while neglecting yourself. You have been pushing through without pause. You have been forcing your heart to run on empty. You are not meant to stay empty. Restoration is not a reward, it is a necessity. You cannot pour from a drained spirit. You cannot think clearly when your thoughts have no space to breathe. You cannot hear God's voice through the noise of worry. So for this moment right now, allow yourself the softness you have been denying. Let your heart loosen. Let the tightness in your chest ease. Let your mind go quiet. Let yourself be led. You do not have to fight for peace. Peace is already reaching for you. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3:5-6 KJV. There are moments when the hardest thing to do is trust. Not because you don't believe in God, but because your mind keeps trying to solve what is beyond your reach. Your thoughts try to fill in every unknown space, every silence, every unanswered question. You replay conversations, analyze details, look for meaning where there may be none. You call it preparation, but it is worry wearing a disguise. You call it responsibility, but it is fear attempting to protect you. And the more you lean on your own understanding, the heavier everything becomes. Your mind wants clarity before surrender. It wants certainty before release. It wants control before peace. But peace does not grow in the soil of control. Peace grows in trust, and trust begins where understanding ends. There are some situations where you will not see the full plan. There are seasons where the pieces will not make sense. There are prayers that will feel unanswered for a time, not because God is absent, but because God is arranging what you cannot yet see. Trying to understand everything keeps your heart in a constant state of tension. It is like holding your breath without noticing, waiting for something to shift. Trust, on the other hand, is an exhale. Trust is the release of what you were never meant to carry alone. Trust is saying, even if I don't see how, I know who. Trust is the quiet confidence that God is not confused, God is not overwhelmed, God is not late. Every time you choose trust, you remove weight from your spirit. Every time you choose trust, you allow God to move without resistance. Trust does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you stop trying. It means you stop carrying the part that was never yours. Think of how much energy you have poured into worrying. Think of how many moments of peace you have lost to thinking, rethinking, and overthinking. Think of how your heart has tightened at the thought of not knowing what comes next. Now imagine what would happen if, instead of bracing for the worst, you stayed open to the possibility of peace. The moment you stop trying to predict the outcome, you free your heart to experience the present. God does not ask you to understand. He asks you to trust. Trust is not blindness. Trust is seeing the situation and choosing to believe that God is greater than whatever stands in front of you. Trust is knowing that even when everything feels uncertain, God is consistent. Trust is choosing to rest before the blessing arrives, because you know the one who is bringing it. There is a part of you that is tired of thinking, tired of planning, tired of trying to hold the pieces together. This is the part God is calling to rest. This is the part that needs to breathe again. This is the part that needs to feel safe again. Let your heart loosen. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind step out of the cycle of worry. You are not meant to carry this weight any longer. Trust is not something you must feel first. Trust is something you choose, and peace follows that choice. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Isaiah 41:10, KJV. Fear has a way of making you forget what is true. It turns shadows into threats. It turns waiting into panic. It turns silence into abandonment. The mind is quick to imagine the worst when it does not know what comes next. Sometimes fear does not even speak loudly. It settles itself quietly in the background of your life, influencing every choice, every reaction, every step, without you even realizing it. And eventually you begin to move through your days not from faith, but from defense. Not from confidence, but from caution. Fear convinces you that you are alone. It tells you that if you let go, you will fall. That if you stop controlling, everything will unravel. But God is not asking you to leap into the unknown by yourself. He is telling you that He is already there. Fear says, what if it goes wrong? Faith answers, what if God has already gone ahead of me? The presence of fear does not mean the absence of faith. It simply means your heart is tired. It means you have been holding too much for too long. It means you have forgotten that strength was never something you had to generate on your own. God does not look at your fear with frustration. He looks at it with compassion. He sees the weight on your chest. He sees the thoughts that do not stop. He sees how hard you try to keep moving even when you feel worn thin. And He speaks into that place with gentleness, not force. I will strengthen thee. Not, you must strengthen yourself. Not, prove that you are strong enough. Not, carry this alone until you break. But I will strengthen you. There is a kind of help that only God can give. A help that does not just solve the situation, but restores the person. A help that brings peace to your breathing, quiet to your mind, and steadiness to your heart. A help that makes you stand again when you thought you had no strength left. You have not reached the end of your ability. You have reached the doorway where God begins to carry what you no longer can. Notice how your fear tries to prepare you for disappointment. Notice how it rehearses the worst outcomes before anything has even happened. Notice how it tries to shield you by anticipating pain. But that is not protection. That is self-punishment. You deserve to experience life without fear being the narrator of every moment. God is not asking you to pretend you are fearless. He is asking you to let His presence become louder than your fear. To let His promises speak louder than your thoughts. To let His strength hold the places where you feel weak. You do not have to force yourself to feel brave. Bravery is not the absence of fear. Bravery is allowing God to hold you while you feel afraid. It is letting His voice calm the shaking inside. It is trusting that even in your most vulnerable moments, you are not abandoned. Take a breath. Slow it down. Let your heart recognize what is true. God is with you. You are not walking into the unknown alone. You are not standing in this moment without help. The one who holds the universe is holding you. My peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. John 14:27, KJV. There is a difference between the peace the world offers and the peace God gives. The peace the world offers depends on circumstances. It depends on everything going right. It depends on answers arriving, situations working out, people behaving the way we hope they will. The peace of the world is fragile. It can be taken from you in a moment, with a single conversation, a single unexpected change, a single piece of news. It shifts. It shakes. It disappears the moment life becomes uncertain. But the peace God gives is not built on circumstances. It is built on His presence. It does not require proof that the future is safe. It does not require clarity before rest. It does not ask you to understand everything before you breathe again. God's peace does not come from the outside. It settles from within. It is stillness that does not depend on the storm calming down. It is calm that enters your spirit even while the situation is still unresolved. It is the quiet confidence that God is not overwhelmed, even when you are. Your heart has been troubled because it has been trying to hold peace in your own strength. You have been waiting for the situation to feel certain before you allow yourself to relax. But peace does not come after control. Peace comes when you release control. Peace enters when your heart stops demanding guarantees and begins choosing trust. You may not know what will happen next. You may not know how things will unfold. You may not have the explanations your mind is searching for. But peace is not found in answers. Peace is found in the one who already knows the answers. The one who sees the thread that connects every moment, every decision, every detail. The one who will not abandon the work He began in you. Your heart is not wrong for wanting stability. Your mind is not wrong for wanting clarity. Your spirit is not wrong for wanting rest. But peace will not arrive through force. Peace arrives through surrender. Not surrender to the situation, but surrender to God's care. Let your heart hear this truth. You do not have to wait for everything to make sense to rest. You do not have to wait for everything to be fixed to breathe. You do not have to wait for certainty to feel safe. Peace is not something you must chase. Peace is something you allow. So let the pressure loosen. Let the fear soften. Let the constant tightness in your chest begin to release. You are not losing control. You are returning control to the one who handles it better than you ever could. You are not stepping back into chaos. You are stepping into alignment. This is the moment where peace begins to flow back into the places where anxiety has lived. Peace is not distant. Peace is not complicated. Peace is here, ready to settle. The moment you stop fighting the unknown and rest in the one who knows. The Lord will perfect that which concerneth me. Thy mercy, O Lord, endureth forever. Psalm 138:8, KJV. There comes a moment in your journey where surrender turns into trust, and trust turns into peace. Not because everything has resolved, not because you finally understand the full picture, but because your heart has accepted that you are not walking alone. Everything you have been carrying, everything you have been fearing, everything you have been trying to fix in your own strength, God has already seen. He has already gone ahead of you. He is already working in places you cannot see. What concerns you concerns Him. What weighs on you matters to Him. You have spent so much time believing that the burden was yours to solve. You measured your worth by your ability to figure things out, to hold everything together, to never let anything fall apart. But that is not the life God intends for you. God never required perfection from you. He required surrender. Surrender is not a collapse. It is the return of your soul to its rightful resting place. It is the moment where the pressure to manage everything lifts because you remember that God is the one who completes what He begins. You may not know how the story unfolds, but the one who writes your story does. You may not see the path clearly, but the one who guides your steps does. You may feel unsure of what tomorrow brings, but God is not uncertain. You are held by someone who does not make mistakes, does not forget, does not abandon, and does not change His mind about you. There is a quiet freedom that arrives when you stop trying to force outcomes, when you stop trying to rush healing, when you stop trying to shape the future through worry, when you stop living in your own strength and begin living in His. The weight you have carried is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of how deeply you care. But caring does not mean carrying alone. Love does not require exhaustion. Responsibility does not require anxiety. Faith does not require understanding. It requires trust. Let your heart settle into this truth. God is finishing what He started. The situation that has felt impossible is not beyond His reach. The path that feels unclear is not hidden from His sight. The burden that has felt unbearable will not crush you. Where your strength ends, His begins. Where your understanding fails, His wisdom carries. Where your patience runs thin, His grace holds firm. You have not been abandoned to figure out life on your own. You have been guided, kept, protected, sustained, and carried more times than you know. And you are being carried now, so breathe. Let the worry loosen its grip. Let the tension leave your shoulders. Let the fear soften in the presence of the one who has never stopped caring for you. You can release the outcome. You can release the timing. You can release the pressure. God is not asking you to know what happens next. He is inviting you to trust the one who does. This is where peace settles. This is where the weight lifts. This is where your heart finds rest again. You are not in this alone. God is completing what concerns you, and you are safe in His hands.